In an FA Cup semi-final, a bright day in Birmingham, but a blustery wind to add to all the other imponderables, and a repetition of last year's semi-final. For this one, Arsenal have sprung a late surprise. At 1 o'clock, they told fullback Bob McNabb that he'd be in for his first game since he received a pelvic injury in January. John Radford is at 10 in place of Ray Kennedy. McNabb has had only 3 reserve games since his injury, and he still had to take pain-killing tablets to get himself into this one. As for Stoke City, a big blow for them. Their team lineup shows Terry Conroy, a star in the League Cup final against Chelsea, still not fit. So they play cautiously with the defender Eric Skeels in a number 7 shirt. Alex Elder is at 3 in place of the suspended Mike Pedgick. Referee Keith Walker from Charing near Ashford in Kent. And the crowd, 56,000, paying receipts of £66,000.
So Arsenal, with yellow shirts and blue shorts, defending the goal to our right, get us away on what is regarded as the cruelest of afternoons in the season. An afternoon that plays havoc with the nerves of players and supporters alike, with Wembley so close. Charlie George now, and into touch for a throw to Stoke City. John Marsh, leaving it instead to Peter Dobing. Greenoff to Eric Skeels, in for Terry Conroy, and George Easton. And the challenge by Storey was far too harsh on Easton, and Keith Walker having a word with Peter Storey. Storey, of course, the man who would remember the semi-final last season at Hillsborough so well, with those 2 vital goals for Arsenal. But now it's a free kick, and Alex Elder played in the cup final for Burnley 10 years ago against Spurs when Spurs won. Elder with the free kick, caught on the wind. Simpson down to Graham. And now McNabb, his first touch since January in the first team. And the throw to Arsenal. Graham. Of course, after the draw at Hillsborough, that dramatic one, it was here at Villa Park, but Arsenal won, and that from Dennis Smith looked for a moment as though it might not carry to Banks. Graham with the head. Marsh going in, very forthright fashion indeed. McNabb. The route back to Wilson cut off by Greenoff, and so it's Armstrong now. Graham. Alan Bloor, this big bluff defender, finding Greenoff. And a lovely ball by Greenoff to Easton, lurking on the far side. In first time, and very near. What a clever piece of play, and Wilson is hurt. He's caught his nose on the post. And that ball was always causing him trouble in the air. Brilliantly and intelligently put there by George Easton. Wilson on his feet. A bruise on the nose, no doubt, but he's got to face pressure now. Easton to curl a corner. Under that Arsenal crossbar again, and Wilson got it and lost it and got it again. Wilson having difficulty finding anything like the halfway line against the breeze. Charlie George going in. George Graham. Nice bit of skills there in a very tight situation by George Graham. But a throw to Stoke City. Very muddled start, particularly by Arsenal, who seem incapable at the moment of finding each other and stringing a few telling passes together. Graham up well. George not quite knowing where it was, but George Graham did. Marsh. McNabb. And now Bernard. Greenoff, very alert and very alive up front, and Easton. McClintock, short one to Armstrong. Easton, McClintock again. Charlie George going down, taken by Bloor, and the referee is feeling for his book. Keith Walker feeling for the book. And Alan Bloor is going to be booked with only 6.5 minutes gone, and Charlie George still on the ground injured. George all right, and Arsenal getting on with it. Armstrong. Charlie George taking it well, but couldn't quite take the challenge from Bloor. Bernard. Ritchie. And Rice. Combination of Rice and Story is formidable indeed. Winning the ball for Arsenal. George Graham. Simpson. Rice. Oh, he's got past Elder. And a free kick here, and Elder bringing him down. Arsenal's free kick. As Rice drew back that right foot to cross the ball. It'll be Armstrong to chip it. Simpson's made a break. George Graham going in with a head, straight to Banks. Two headers against Wolves last week. And the challenge is fierce. And the linesman giving quite clearly the throw to Stoke City. Ball unhappy. Free kick rather to Stoke. McClintock. Oh, that bounced back for Ritchie and not quite for Greenoff. Story. Feet were a little high there. And Bernard. And the scuffle is on. They're after Bernard, and Keith Walker is in there too. And the feelings really are running high in this cup semi-final. And it will be so much better for everybody to cool down. One name already taken, that of Alan Bloor. And Keith Walker telling Bernard that his feet were high on Story. Certainly when an Arsenal player is challenged like that in an unfair way, I'm bound to say there are 4 or 5 who really spring to his defence, as they did on that occasion. Skeels misjudging that, and it's Radford for Arsenal. The little chip through, and that was handball by Smith, and it's a free kick for Arsenal. Keith Walker is going to book Dennis Smith for deliberately handling the ball. He booked Smith last week against Leeds United, and he's booking him again now. The second Stoke name. So Smith's name goes in. Charlie George. Radford. Ball. And Armstrong couldn't get to it. Now McNabb, it's calling for the chip. And he's given it. Elder, in fact, who got ahead to that one. Charlie George turning it back again. Rice. Smith and Charlie George, and Smith is playing a dangerous game. Play on, says the referee. Charlie George, the flick back again, Alan Ball. Oh, just wide. Played back deliciously there by Charlie George, and it bobbled a fraction before Ball hit it, when really Banks had no chance. Banks spotting Dobing. What a good and intelligent goal kick. Elder towards Greenoff. They've let him go, and the shot by Greenoff, and a marvellous save by Wilson. Greenoff holds his head. He was ready to shout goal with all the Stoke supporters, but somehow Wilson got a hand to it. A wonderful save, and a corner now for Stoke. Easton with it. Charlie George off the top of his head though. Simpson not getting it properly away. And a shot by Bernard that is wide. that scare in the first minute, Wilson has had little enough to do. But that really was a superlative save there by the Arsenal goalkeeper, keeping it at 0-0 with 5 minutes to go to half-time. Ball. George Graham. To Bob McNabb. And offside against Radford. Complaining bitterly there to linesman Vincent James of York. But I would suggest that he's a very experienced referee who at least knows what offside is all about. Banks with the kick. Eastham, the linesman flanking on the far side. Play on, says Keith Walker. And now Alan Ball. Harassed by Bernard in the free kick. Stoke supporters indignant, I think, that Alan Ball fell there. But now Ball again. To Rice. Little enough time now left at the end of the first half, and still Pat Rice played for Alan Ball, and first time across the goal. Armstrong. Played back again. What a good piece of play by Armstrong to Graham. Smith to nod this one away. Story to go in. Left foot. Oh, and across the goal and behind. And Banks didn't quite get a hand to it. Story, who whacked one from a similar position this side of the penalty area to produce the first goal at Hillsborough in the semi-final last season, really caught that one too. Banks then with the goal kick. As the whistle goes for half-time, no goals, a lot of good football. Arsenal have had rather the better of it, and yet it's taken one tremendous save by Wilson to keep the score sheet blank. So we come to a half-time situation in this FA Cup semi-final at Villa Park. Stoke City 0, Arsenal 0. Welcome back as Stoke City get us away at the start of the second half. Stoke, of course, will now be facing this considerable breeze. Arsenal will have it at their backs. No goals, and Gordon Banks for Stoke. McClintock recovering well. Dobing. And a foul there on Dobing by George Graham. No, the other way about, given in fact to Arsenal. And Simpson to play it back to Bob Wilson. And Frank McClintock, having come onto the field at the start of the second half and made it quite clear to the Arsenal supporters they wanted as much encouragement as they could get, getting it there with that famous old Arsenal song, and now it's with Charlie George. Ball. Trying it, delicate little 1-2 there, but Elder for Stoke, but it's Arsenal's throw. Armstrong. Ball. Down he goes, it's got to be a free kick. Given against Elder. Chance now for Arsenal to turn a dangerous little free kick into that packed Stoke penalty area, catch the breeze with it, but it's Gordon Banks on the end of it again for Stoke. Mike Bernard to Jimmy Greenoff. Bernard again. The pitch fairly firm, but taking a start in very good nick, in fact. And now Charlie George with Radford in the middle. Radford is outnumbered, still Charlie George. And really it wanted the cross, and it's not away yet. Armstrong hitting one, and a goal! George Armstrong! Arsenal ahead! And little George Armstrong has done it! Only his 5th goal of the season. George Armstrong, who has not scored in the last 18 games, has got a vital first goal for Arsenal, and Banks couldn't reach it. Dobing and Story planted forward. George wasn't going for it. And behind that Stoke goal, the Arsenal supporters are beside themselves. Again, difficult as it was for the Stoke defenders in the first half, so it was for Simpson there to judge those high balls caught on the wind without giving the opposing forward a little nudge. So it's Bloor with the free kick for Stoke. Wilson's got to come for this one, and he almost missed it. And Wilson is still down, and ball gets it away for Graham. Arsenal's throw, and Wilson is down on the deck in his own 6-yard area and seems to be in a fair bit of pain. He's not a player who is likely to con anyone. Could well be quite genuinely hurt there. Stoke City substitute Harry Burrows beginning to warm up. So Wilson all right. And it'll be a throw on the far side of the field to Arsenal. Another throw for Arsenal. Radford to hurl a long one to put Stoke under more pressure, but in fact he saw Simpson. Good bit of skill there by Simpson. George couldn't get ahead to it, neither could Smith. And now Dobie. Oh, and he got in finally, Charlie George. He waited for his moment and found the right one. And now Armstrong. Saw Radford on the far side, but his aim was way out. Easton. A flick to Bernard. And now Easton. I would think with Stoke needing to put more power in attack, that when they bring Burrows on, it'll be a defender who comes off. It might well be Skeels. Elder. Men calling for it deep. There's Ritchie. With the head of Simpson again, Easton. The shot through a crowd of players, but the weight taken off it by an Arsenal defender. And Wilson really is suffering every time he moves. And still not halfway through this half. Could be a critical time for Bob Wilson and for Arsenal. And Burrows wants to come on for Stoke, the substitute. And in fact, it looks as though it's Mike Bernard who's coming off. And at the same time, Ray Kennedy warming up for Arsenal. Actually, at the goalpost there, Bertie Mee also coming on to have a word. And it could well be a very dramatic situation where Wilson has to go off. No, it looks as though they're putting a bandage there, somehow or other, to prop him up and keep him in this cup semi-final. Situation that really could be make or break for Arsenal. Bertie Mee, of course, himself a fine physiotherapist, going around to see what he could do with Bob Wilson's knee. Heavy strapping. And now on with the game again. Graham. Arsenal obviously would desperately like a second goal as an insurance now, with Wilson just that little bit suspect at the back. Ball. Smith away. Story. Arsenal in defence really must protect Wilson now as much as they possibly can. Scales. Smith laying it off now for Elder. Ball. Story, a bobbling ball, but he controlled that well to give Radford half a chance. And it's a corner for Arsenal, off Dennis Smith. There's Smith, got to do a defensive job now as Armstrong takes this corner for Arsenal. Radford getting to it with his head. Now Stoke taking it up again with John Marsh. Greenhoff. They've got to pressurise this Arsenal defence now. Dobing and Radford right back to do a job at the back. The pressure now really beginning to build up on Arsenal. Easton with Dobing, the sort of man to prod and probe the weak points. And Wilson goes in! And Smith has got there. Dennis Smith has equalised. And in fact, it was the pass by Eastham. Wilson was hobbling, couldn't get to it. And when you come from the Potteries, it's the moment you've come to see. It's going to call for a lot of courage and character from Arsenal now, and for a lot of protection for the crippled Wilson. 1-1. Ritchie. It surely will spur Stoke now. Law thought about passing it back. And now Elder. A long ball forward, McClintock at the end, straining there to get to it. Rice. McNabb. Radford. That little terrier Armstrong couldn't get to that one. Elder. Easton. And now Skeels. Dobing. And Greenhoff. Towards Ritchie, McClintock doing the protecting job there. McNabb. Greenhoff. Ritchie. And now Burrows. The ball there, nice ball there to Greenhoff. And obstruction, and a free kick for Stoke in the area. No penalty, and it couldn't have been. It was obstruction by Arsenal, and Story is giving Wilson some stick, and Wilson is giving Story some stick, and Arsenal for the moment in a little bit of disarray. Four men in the Arsenal wall. It's all building up against Arsenal. Eastham to prod and to probe again. The little chip by Eastham. Wilson bravely getting a fist. Skeels going down. And Wilson down so bravely as the ticker tape goes across Villa Park. And Wilson down again. Whether he was put there by Ritchie, I don't know. He's getting to his feet again. He can hardly walk. Eastham. In for Dobing. No, against the post. Greenhoff, no. And Wilson cannot go on. He is appealing in vain to the bench to come off. And I think they have got to take Bob Wilson off. He is utterly and completely crippled, And the woodwork came to Arsenal's rescue there. It looks as though it's Radford who's going to go into goal. Well, the out players very often fancy themselves in goal, and I wonder what Radford would feel about a situation now. A semi-final of the Cup, the game standing level with everything to play for, and Wilson, a sad and a crucial moment for Arsenal. And Ray Kennedy, the substitute, is on. Well, these two sides, when they met at Hillsborough last year, had drama all the way with that final penalty. And now John Radford, in goal for Arsenal, gives another touch of drama this year. So Wilson being led off. And Radford with his goal kick. And if you had to put money on it now, you would have to put your money on Stoke. Greenoff, Dobing, all the touches are there now. Eastham couldn't quite make it though. Ball, his industry is going to be needed, and so too is Armstrong's. And away goes Charlie George. Smith, now Kennedy. But it's a corner. A pity for Arsenal, Kennedy couldn't make contact properly. Armstrong to take it. A deep one, and Banks is there, challenged by Graham. And a free kick to Stoke. Banks, whose kicking hasn't been all that it might have been, particularly in this second half against the wind. Ball. George, a lot of Arsenal players are up now. Ball couldn't get back to it though. George Graham. Oh, and he plays it straight to Skeels. Burrows. Sweeping out there towards Ritchie, but McNabb again there for Arsenal, following it through well, Bob McNabb. Marsh, and again McNabb getting in the way. Oh, he took a few yards there, I would have thought, with that throw. Greenoff. Eastham. Play on, says the linesman on the far side. Dobing was not offside. Greenoff back to Marsh. Eastham playing with the ball there, making very little progress. But the throw to Stoke. Dennis Smith has gone right up again. Kennedy's header getting it away, only as far as Dobing. Right back there again. And now Burrows. Rice coming out quickly, flicked across again, and nodded away this time. Now Skeels, and now Dobing. And Arsenal hurling themselves at it. McClintock. And finally it's McClintock who gets it away. Those Arsenal defenders literally hurling themselves at Stoke players, and McClintock setting the right example, getting it away. And a free kick to Stoke. And Marsh and McNabb mixing it a little bit. It'll be Marsh with the kick. 3 minutes plus injury time left. Oh, Greenoff! Oh, he's saved that well, Radford. Smith turning it across and behind. Good play by Radford. Smith shot the wind behind, but Radford was the hero in that situation. Ball tugging at the shirt of Ritchie. And Ball looks as though he's going to be booked. Well, he was clearly tugging at Rich's shirt. And the name of Alan Bull putting his arms around Keith Walker's neck. It'll make no difference, that name goes in the book. And Stoke get a free kick in these last crucial moments of a great semi-final. Every Arsenal player is back, and it's Kennedy who got it away. Armstrong who helped it on its way. Charlie George. Burrows. And out comes Radford to grab it again. Well, that's the only man who knows how much longer we've got to go. It can only be a few seconds. And now Marsh. Maybe the last crisis for Arsenal, and an obstruction by Story. And Story having a word with the linesman, which is not to be recommended. For Arsenal, it's got to be everybody back and everybody defend what could be the last crisis. It's Eastham for Stoke, curling it in again. And down goes Radford again. From Smith. Oh, and he lost a valuable ball there, George Armstrong. McClintock with his head towards Story. Now Green off to Ritchie. This could be very dangerous for Arsenal. Ball back to challenge though. And a free kick given to Stoke. Ball unhappy about it. So are the rest of the Arsenal players. But the situation is clear. That it is still a difficult little last moment for Arsenal. Burrows and Marsh are poised behind it. And every white shirt practically is up there. Burrows to hit one, but straight at the wall. Elder, and before he can put it back, the whistle has gone. And Arsenal have survived for a replay. So a dramatic and a tremendous FA Cup semi-final here at Villa Park ends with a scoreline. Stoke City 1, Arsenal 1.